last time on Oz Hour?
Okay, so last time on Oz Hour, Dorothy, Toto, and Belina get lost, and they get brought into Utension, or Utensionos, that utensil place, and they meet all these different types of utensils, frying pans, everything, and they're like, bitch, we're going to take her ass to court. And so they take her to court, they gather all their people. I don't really remember what happens, but they basically release her and was like, yeah, actually, this was a big waste of time. Forget about it. You're gone. Go get some blackberries out in the forest, you dumb bitch. We don't eat food here. And then she goes with her little crew, and they're like, oh my God, I'm starving. And they find these two signs, Bunberry and Bunnyberry. And she decides to go to Bunberry because it sounds like bun, or it is buns. I mean, and then she gets there, and they are buns. Actually, it's all bread. It's all bread, flour, saltine crackers. It's everything that you can possibly think of being involved in bread. And she basically bullies these poor people and eats all their things, and just is so mean. I don't even know any of the people she met except for that one dude, Johnny Cakes, and other people, but we don't care about them. And then we go to and she gets kicked out of there because Toto and Belina end up eating people. And then they go to and then Ozma all of a sudden is reminiscing on the old times, and she's like, let me look at what that gnome guy's doing. And she sees the tunnel being made, and then she's like, ha 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 ha, anyway, I'm gonna not worry about that. The end. Thank you.
Hi there, and welcome to episode 31 of Oz Hour, the only place where you can hear everything you never knew about the wonderful and strange land of Oz.
That's right. With the help of some alcohol, we will be discussing each of the 14 books in L. Frank Baum's Wizard of Oz series.
Today, we will be continuing with Book 6, The Emerald City of Oz, covering chapters 19 through 21.
We're your hosts, Blake Stone
And Wyatt Swangham.
and joining us as always is our resident Oz initiate, Hannah
Hello.
Aguirre.
Oh, you really cut him off.
Yikes.
Hannah, hello, Aguirre.
I forgot I had a last name.
Hannah, you just played last time on. You usually do that, yeah?
I do.
Mm-hmm.
Mhm.
So this time you did pretty good.
Oh.
Minute and 34 seconds to cover it.
That's
So
long.
let's see what you missed. Frankly, I just think it's important to note that Dorothy, Belina, and Toto are captured by 6 to 8 dozen spoons
Oh, that's right.
who take them to...
72
I forgot
to
about the
96.
I don't
dozens.
remember what you called it, but it's called Utensia.
Oh, okay.
You were giving
I
Utencio.
I was saying
You're like-
Utension.
Utensia, Colorado. Like, I don't know. It was so much. Nothing happens there. So good job on glazing over that. Dorothy does eat cinnamon buns, wheelbarrow, and his piano once she makes it to Bunbury. She also eats some old lady's buttered doormat.
On the wheelbarrow.
We got that.
Oh. Oops.
But no, actually,
Overall, not
you
bad.
did a pretty great job. I don't know what my co-host is going to say, but I would call it a win.
No, well, I mean, it was awfully long, but it was still good. You did a good job.
Thank you.
Yeah.
That's all I need to
Okay.
hear is that I did a good job.
Just say you're proud.
Just say you're proud of me.
No.
Before we started recording, Wyatt went ahead and whipped up some cocktails, so I will give him the floor to talk about it, talk about it, talk about it, talk about it.
Ooh, yeah.
Tonight we are drinking White Rabbit, which is a play on a White Russian, and the name for which will, as always, make sense. And the recipe for which you can find on our Instagram at OzHour Podcast.
Let's slurp. Okay, that's actually quite delicious, and I drank it out of an actual antique from the crash of the SS Titanic.
Chapter 19, How Bunnybury Welcomed the Strangers.
Okay, so Dorothy, Belina, Toto, they are leaving Bunbury because why?
They ate people.
They ate people.
Several.
And then the people did not like that.
Yeah.
So they said, "Oh, we don't actually. I'm sorry, friend. I don't like it when you do that to my
Excuse
body,
me?
friend."
Listen. Actually, murder.
So they're back on the road, and Dorothy is just like, "Gosh, I never thought that things that are so good to eat could be so disagreeable."
And then Belina goes off with a joke about how, usually they get disagreeable after you eat them. And it's like, food poisoning. Yeah.
Like, pretty much everything that I eat seems to be poison or an allergen
Oh
to
my
me.
God.
So I really related to Belina's joke. She's like, I'd rather it be disagreeable before I eat it. And I'm like, yeah, hey, amen, sister. Hey,
Girl
hey.
with some stomach problems.
Seriously.
Belina's a real mom.
Mhm.
But Belina basically, though, is like, hey, like, maybe we should just go back down to the signpost, like, and then go the other way. Like, stay on the path. Like, we'll be chill.
So they pass the signpost. They head away from Bunbury and toward
The other road.
Bunnybury.
Oh, we're gonna get Bunnybury.
Yeah,
Yes.
we don't skip it. I thought that last time too. I was like, we're just gonna skip right over
Yeah.
Bunnybury.
Yeah.
More
which-
interested in
but
that.
I'm
We're
very
just,
interested.
drinking the white rabbit.
around
here.
Oh my god, I didn't even think
Mhm.
about that.
So finally, they reach this big marble wall, and the path ends there.
Yeah. And the path also, for the record, is like pretty narrow. It's almost like a bike path, or not like if a bike rides through mud
Yes.
and then like runs across the pavement. You're like, oh, there's a
Yeah.
little stripe. It's like that, but it's like you can see it. Like, but Dorothy can't like walk in the path. She has to just follow this line, basically.
Yes.
So it's a small path.
The
all to
path
say.
is so narrow that like Dorothy's feet can't even fit
Yeah.
side by side on it.
Yeah.
So she's just like, I guess I'm still lost, but at least I'm following
on a
something.
path.
But
She does get to this big marble wall, which to me was really giving Dainty China Village to me.
Yes,
Like
very
my
much.
first thought, even though I knew what was gonna happen.
Seems like there's a lot of little cities or towns.
Yeah.
It seems like there's a lot of little towns that like give off dainty China country.
You know, it's all very medieval. They all have to have a wall. You know,
And we're only gonna see them once. I'm guessing we're
Oh.
not gonna run into Bunbury again.
Yeah.
I promise you. Well, actually, I can't promise you because I haven't read all the books. But I
Ooh.
very nearly goddamn promise you
Yeah.
that you won't see these
It's a
people.
We're
close
gonna probably
promise.
see like fucking Eggplant City or some shit like
Tell you
that
what,
Yeah.
before
you
we see
are-
Bunbury
Yeah.
again.
Tell you what, you are gonna spend the next 3 chapters with them, so don't give up hope just
Oh.
quite yet.
Hi, Bunbury. I guess we have, or no, Bunnybury.
Yeah,
exactly.
Bunny.
Hi, Bunnybury. So they reach this wall. Dorothy takes a closer look at the marble wall. She finds a small door. About the height of her head. It's just like this little square, right? Like
Yeah.
at her face
It's not
level.
big. Yeah.
Under that door is a doorbell and a sign that reads, "No admittance except on business."
And Dorothy-
knowing full well that she has no business.
Yeah. She laughs in the face of that sign, and she's like, "I'm ringing that bell."
God,
She's like, yeah,
the
her-
entitlement.
Yeah, she's on business right now. The business of getting fucking found. And so it takes a minute, but eventually, there's a little click, and the marble door swings open, and it's really more of a window.
There are brass bars blocking the entrance of the window. So like Dorothy can't even fit her fingers
Oh.
through the bars.
Yeah.
Like there are
Jeez.
bars so close
It's like
together.
a grate.
Yeah.
They're safe, which makes sense. It's in the middle of the forest and it's a city full of rabbits, I assume.
Yeah,
Like so
Yeah, and
yeah.
I'm sure it's not Monty Python rabbits.
definitely not.
somebody gets that joke out there.
The killer rabbit that eats everyone.
Oh, that sounds cute.
It's super cute.
So on the other side of the window, Dorothy sees the face of a white rabbit with a monocle. He looks at Dorothy and he is like, "Well, what is it?"
Yeah, and Dorothy's like, "Well, I'm Dorothy, and I'm lost."
Excuse me, state your business,
Yeah.
please. Like he fully cuts
He's-
her off.
Yeah, he's not having it. She's like, okay, I'm lost. That's my business. So my business is actually finding my way out, and I actually need help.
Yeah,
And the
he's
rabbit's not
like,
having it.
No, he's
So we're
like,
not in Bunbury anymore.
No one
We're
is
not-
getting
Dorothy
eaten
can't
here.
come and stomp around like she owns
This
the
is
motherfucking
not
place.
come eat my grandmother's eyeballs. City.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they have a strict order here.
Absolutely.
They do. Very.
But like the white rabbit is like, bitch. I mean, sorry, Dorothy.
Excuse me.
You are not allowed in Bunnybury without a letter of introduction from the Princess Ozma or Glinda the Sorceress.
And Dorothy's like, oh, okay, then just wait a minute. I literally
Yeah,
have
she's
a
like,
letter from
I have
Ozma.
that. I have that.
I
Hold on,
have that.
please. And he's like, you do from the ruler of Oz.
Yeah.
And she's like, yes, please, just please don't
This
close
is
the
what
door.
she
Yeah.
gets.
Yeah,
well,
honestly.
karma.
Yeah, she's like, I'm a princess. I'm a princess.
Yeah. Oh,
He's
you're
like,
a prince.
Oh, you're a princess of where? Where? She's like, Oz. He's like, of Oz.
Yeah.
Oh.
He literally says, oh, well, then I'm a princess myself.
Yeah. It's like, actually, we're both princesses of Oz.
Yeah.
Don't I know you, sister?
He actually starts closing the door, and she's like, wait, I found it. She finally finds the letter, which
Oh.
I guess how many fucking pockets did she have? Like,
yeah,
my
like,
God.
does she have a bag or a basket? Like, what's going on?
Just the big dress pockets, I guess.
I guess
All the way to her
so.
foot.
I didn't realize women had pockets back then.
So Dorothy stuffs the letter through the bars to the rabbit, and he's like so pompous. He's like, I'm going to read it out loud so that they know I know how to read words.
Yeah. It also kind of is giving like prove you can read it so that when you read it and it's ridiculous, they know that you actually read it. Like,
Yeah,
it is
like-
pompous, but it's also like, oh, what's this? Like, you think I can't read? Well,
Right.
actually, I'm about to read because this is not a letter from
Yeah.
Ozma.
Yeah.
I know that this is not a letter from Ozma.
Yeah.
So he reads, It will please me to have my subjects greet Princess Dorothy, the bearer of this royal missive, with the same courtesy and consideration they would extend to me. Signed, Ozma of Oz.
That's not a lot of detail.
It's not,
No,
but it also
it's so
It's
short.
a little vague.
But it's
But-
signed Ozma of Oz, which I assume they all know what her pen looks like, and then also it's sealed
But, like-
with the Emerald City seal.
yeah. So like, there's no way to replicate that seal and her signature. Like,
But
it
do
would be
they
really
know who
hard.
Ozma is?
They do.
They do. They worship.
Yeah.
They worship. They
They
do. They don't
do.
worship.
Okay,
is
because
that the word?
Bunbury
They worship?
didn't know Ozma, right?
Yeah, well,
Or was it
Bunbury did.
Utension?
Bunbury did. Utensia did not.
yeah,
know
Utensia.
Utensia
Ozma.
did not.
Bunbury
Okay.
and
Bunbury-
Bunnybury are both
Okay.
under her rule.
But
so
they also
it's
have-
good she has that letter.
It is,
then.
yes, thank God. And
So-
Bunnybury and Bunbury both had signs pointing to them.
Yes.
So like those, like that's
Yeah,
part of the
she
infrastructure.
was kidnapped and brought to like the gorilla city of Utensia.
Yeah,
I
But
see.
honestly,
very different.
I thought when we first learned about the letter of introduction, I thought it was specifically for the first place. I didn't know what a letter of introduction was. I didn't know she could just take it anywhere. Like that thing should be written.
Yeah,
that
like
should-
how long has she had that on her?
the whole time that should be carved
Like
in.
even before like this book, or was
No.
it just
Oh, no.
strictly
She
for
got
this
it. She got it
vacation?
Yeah,
for this
she
road
has
trip.
that for this road trip.
Got
They've
it.
probably
should
been
have
showing
been-
that in part to like everybody they've stopped with to
Yeah.
stay the night. Like everyone knows who Dorothy is, but saying, "Hey, here's the letter from Ozma too." It's like, okay, well, great, you're not just a marauder.
That thing should
Yeah,
have
you're
been
not just a
etched
moocher.
into 10. Or sorry, 10 with an E. That should have been etched into tin and then sewed into Dorothy's back.
I wasn't sure where that was going.
Oh my
But-
God.
Ultimately, the rabbit through the window, he's like, this letter's from the Emerald City. How delicious.
Oh.
So Dorothy's like, so what now?
Yeah.
Like, let me in.
Yeah, she's like, "What are you gonna do about it?" Like, yeah, like it's from Ozma, like, and he's like, "Oh my God, okay, yeah, well, we'll obey because we're Ozma, we're in Ozma's country, and Glinda the Good has ordered us to respect, obey,
Because
and,
she
you know."
protects them.
Yeah, she does.
So Dorothy's like, okay, so can I come in? The rabbit closes the window. This gave me like the 1939 film vibes, honestly, like where it was like the little window closes and the big door opens.
Yeah.
And so the door opens in front of Dorothy. She comes in rather than it being the whole ass Emerald City like in the movie, it's just this little tiny room where that white rabbit is located.
So Dorothy enters and she looks at the rabbit with a fair amount of surprise because he's a pretty normal rabbit. He's normal size. He's big. He's like a big rabbit, but he's like a normal size rabbit with pink eyes, white fur. But then,
Is he albino?
Yes. No, he is. They like, most of them are. They're like white fur with, and he keeps saying pink eyes.
Yeah.
These pink eyes.
Well, all white
They're all
rabbits
albino.
have, or I mean, sorry, all white rabbits have red eyes, don't they?
The albino ones, which I think all white rabbits
I think
are
all
albino.
white
Okay.
rabbits are albino. Yeah.
We'll look this all up later, so nobody needs to tell us the real answers.
Please don't DM us.
However, that said, I didn't know they were albino. I just thought, oh yeah, they're white and they have pink
Yeah,
eyes. That's
those
what they all
those
have,
like
but-
blood red eyes. Like I don't know where he comes up with pink because I think of them as being quite red.
I-
Yeah,
well,
that's what I think too.
But those
maybe.
red eyes are indicative of albinism, which like even albino people have like reddish eyes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he's gorgeous. He's this cute white rabbit dressed to the nines. And Dorothy's just like a little surprised to like see like, oh, like you're kind of anthropomorphic. Like you're like a person, you know.
Well, he's like he's a bunny, and then he just has clothes on. He has like a vest. He
Yeah.
has weird little pants. He has diamonds
A
on his
monocle.
butt.
Giving, like,
Yeah, a
I'm
monocle.
late. I'm late.
It's-
For a very
Exactly.
important
I
date.
am
Oh,
very
that's funny
happy
you
you
say
said
that.
that.
Yeah,
I'm
it's funny you
so happy you said that.
Oh my God.
Just so you know, that book was 45 years old when this came out. So L. Frank Baum can't pretend he doesn't know it exists.
That's what was
okay?
also in the last book in Bunbury, her eating all the little things. Like when we were listening back to it, like editing it and everything, I was like, this is really giving like eat me, Alice in Wonderland, drink me type of
You
vibe.
know?
We almost named tonight's cocktail Drink
Tonight's
Me.
cocktail was really close to being.
Oh
drink-free.
shit.
And it's funny you say that in general because they enter. Well, fuck. Okay. Well, the first thing that happens when they enter, Toto and Bellina follow Dorothy in, and the rabbit runs to a table, jumps up on it, and
Yeah.
he's like, "Hey, those companions, like you're the princess. They cannot enter with
He's
you."
like, Princess, no.
Yeah.
And
He's
well,
Dorothy's like,
honestly, with their track record lately, I would
okay,
say
exactly.
Yeah.
exactly.
And-
Say it. No, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off. Say it. Say what you're gonna say. What about the track record? What did they just fucking do?
they're murderers.
They're murderers.
Yeah.
Dude, he is like, I'm so sorry. Like, they can't be here.
They're bloodthirsty.
Dorothy's like, why not? He's like, one, you're the princess. That letter was for you. Two,
True.
um,
It didn't say Dorothy and friends,
yeah. Two,
which is kind of surprising.
our bunnies would be so horrified of them. Dogs are their least favorite thing. So just so you know, Bunnybury knows about dogs. So the rabbit is like, first of all, like we hate dogs more than anything. But second of all, your friends weren't referenced in your letter. So Dorothy's like, but my friends go wherever I go.
Yeah,
And the
she-
rabbit's like,
Yeah, I'm sorry, but she like the tone I get from that is like my friend, they're my friends and they go where I go. But then the rabbit is like, not this time.
I
Like,
love it.
Yeah,
He's
he
like,
literally says,
not this time, princess.
Yeah,
I
stay here
love
or you're
this
not going
little
in.
rabbit.
Yeah,
Frankly,
he knows what's up.
Like, good on him for standing his ground because
Yeah.
what the fuck happened in Bunbury? Slaughter.
Yes,
Slaughter. People died.
He doesn't know, but he is doing the right thing. However, that said, in Ozma's letter, it said, "Hey, treat Dorothy just as you would treat me." And I'm like, well, that's interesting. So if Ozma came to your city and said, "I have a dog with me," you'd say, "No, you can't come in,"
No,
or
Ozma can bring
or
whoever
you would
the
let
fuck
her.
she
And I
wants.
do
True,
understand that it's
true.
different. However, I do think there's a level of like he's using discretion though. He's saying, "Hey, I'm making an educated choice to say that's not going to fly right now," and I don't blame him. And I think
He's
it's
like,
true.
sorry, you're not Ozma.
You know, it's interesting because we're not necessarily there yet. But Dorothy at some point does ask this rabbit in particular, like while they're in this room, she's like, "Are you the king?" And he's like, "No, I'm not the king. I'm just the keeper of the wicket, whatever that means. But he's like, oh no, I am so low on the totem pole. But we are going to spend the next 3 chapters listening to him tell everybody what the fuck to do.
So he's
honestly.
he's like when you go to high school and you're new, it's like the person that's telling you like all the cliques and like what's going on.
Yes, he's Janice and
He's like the
Damien.
informant.
He's
yeah.
definitely
Janice,
telling you about the
yes.
clique. Yeah. But Belina is like, hey, Dorothy, just go inside. She was like, Toto and I can just rest in here. Like, we don't even care. Like, just go. It seems kind of interesting.
So Dorothy decides, okay, fine, I'll go alone.
She also notes that she thinks it's a good idea because of what happened in Bunbury. She's like, has a flashback and she's like,
so she
actually, you guys were misbehaving,
She's like,
and so I'm fine with that.
This is for the best.
Yeah, this is for
and
the
she's
best.
interested.
So the rabbit is like, so Dorothy, before you can enter Bunbury, you must consent to reduce. And she's like, reduce what? And he's like, your size.
Your size. She has to become rabbit-sized, but
Can
she
you
will stay in her
say-
human form.
Can you say Alice's Adventures?
Literally.
Can you say
Yeah.
eat me or drink me?
me.
Someone
Yeah.
read a book before they wrote this book.
I know.
What the? Alice was 45 years before this. He cannot pretend he doesn't know what that is.
Yeah.
He knows what that is.
And during that time, there's not a lot of things that are coming out.
No.
Yeah.
Not like
Yeah.
today.
Mass publishing was pretty new.
Yeah.
Oh, don't.
I don't know, man. I don't know. The printing revolution was a while before that. But that said, though, the rabbit says, you'll maintain your size. Like, you'll just have to do it. And she's like, what about my clothes? And he's like, they'll reduce too. You're fine. And she's like, okay, like, so you'll reduce me and you'll also make me big again, right? And I'm like, that is a great question, Dorothy, because like you have gotten
Think
into
about
so
your
many
future
bad
self.
situations. Yeah. I mean, Alice in Wonderland, for instance, ends up tiny, can't get to the big thing that makes her big again, I think.
At least her clothes fit her. Goddamn.
Yeah.
But so the rabbit, after they clear everything up, the rabbit hops over to the far wall where there's a very, very, very tiny door, which he opens, and the rabbit instructs Dorothy to follow him. Now, most little girls would probably say, I can't fit through that tiny door. But Dorothy, who's been in a lot of fairylands, she's like,
Yeah.
I guess I'll just go to that tiny door.
And apparently she's seen Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory because she walks up to that tiny door and every step she takes, she gets tinier and tinier until the door is big and then she just walks through it. It's insane.
Whoa.
Who knows what the magic is? We'll find out. But
That's fun.
Yeah. So the keeper of the wicket, who's that little bunny, goes through the door.
Does
and
he have a name or is he just the keeper
He
of
has
the
a
wicket?
name
We'll find out
that
later.
We don't know.
Okay.
like an annoying amount of time later, we'll
Yeah,
find out
it's
his
like
name.
way
I don't
too far
understand why
away.
we have to wait so long.
Interesting.
There are some bunnies that we spend a lot of time with who we never learn.
I would
names.
agree with that.
Oh.
Yeah.
So the keeper of the wicket goes through the door and Dorothy follows him. The door slams shut behind them.
And it clicks locked.
Ooh.
Isn't that ominous?
Oh.
That's
And Dorothy
she's a
gasps.
child.
She gasps in surprise at what she is seeing because this place is sort of crazy.
Yeah, but it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Yeah, it's a little utopia.
It's surrounded.
amazing.
It's surrounded by the marble wall.
Is it
all of-
giving like that the Earth core city,
Uh,
like the earthquake
it's
one?
giving that, except you can't see through the walls.
Oh, okay.
But like kind of a similar vibe. Actually,
Does it feel
no.
like covered?
No, actually, I'm gonna say
it's
no.
not covered now.
Because
the wall
this
goes up
is-
and then stops.
This is way cuter than that because that was like, wow, very beautiful, tall glass buildings. But this is actually like a lot cuter.
Okay.
Everything's made of marble. The streets are made of marble. The buildings are made of marble. All of the houses are like shaped like teapots, but that are like tipped on their sides.
a little,
So,
little
yeah.
bunnies.
It's just like bunnies who
that-
have like found little
my
holes
It's
to live in.
really cute.
Oh.
Yeah.
I would love to go there. I hope they would be nice to me. I don't have
Oh,
a dog.
they would
Probably
be. They're
be.
amazing.
Yeah,
I
they're
love
really
them.
nice.
Good.
And the
they're-
people look amazing too.
They're gorgeous.
Yeah.
people?
Or the rabbit
bunny
people.
people. Oh, okay.
Yeah, they're all rabbits.
They're people too.
Yes, but they're rabbits and people, even if they're really tiny.
Also, their like front lawns are like
Oh.
thick patches of clover.
Also, yeah, everyone's lawn, like the paths are all white marble, and then between the paths and the houses, it's all just little clover.
Which, if everybody
So
in
cute.
America did that, we could cool down the planet exponentially.
Oh,
Something to think about.
Yeah, everyone.
Something- Tell your parents.
Bunnybury got it right. But everyone who's there is doing terrible things for the planet because they are wearing all sorts of fabrics and they're all dyed insane
They're all
colors.
wearing the same fabric, which is satin. But the bunnies are all dressed beautifully. The men are dressed dapperly. The women are dressed even better. Some of the lady rabbits even are pushing strollers.
Oh,
And inside of them,
No.
all sorts of little
dead
baby rabbits.
No, I'm kidding.
No.
I'm kidding.
There's so many babies, huh?
Yeah.
There's so
They're
many.
all
and
curled
they're
up
gorgeous.
together. Some of them are like waking up and like sucking on their little paws, and they're just like, but they just look like little
With
furry
these
golf
giant
balls.
little eyes, like looking around
Yeah.
at the world.
And all the moms are wearing bonnets with like feathers. It's so
Wait,
cute.
are you
That's
happy
so
or
cute.
sad? Okay, I couldn't tell if you were like grossed out.
No, I'm kind of like crying a little bit, but
No,
it's like a
really
happy cry.
They're so sweet, and like I feel like if this was like a movie or a play, like Dorothy would be walking through and they'd be like, oh, and a bunny time.
And they'd be like
And
hopping.
They're all they're all humming under their breasts to that, and then like they all hop on beat. Yeah, I love
I
that.
would love to see that. Oh, okay. I love this place.
So
yes,
they're
it's
all
adorable.
bunnying about, and it takes a minute because like Dorothy's their size, but eventually like people start to notice like, whoa, there's like a human here, but they're not freaked out.
Yeah.
They're just like, whoa, that's interesting. Like it's like she's a curiosity to them. They're just kind of like they slow, like she attracts attention, but like it doesn't take long before the keeper of the wicket really is making his presence known.
Oh, totally. He's just like, make way for Princess Dorothy! And they're all just like moving aside and like bowing as like the keeper of the wicket hops, and like Dorothy just follows behind him and
Yeah.
she's like, hello.
Yeah, she's like bowing respectfully. She's doing
Okay,
it
she's being
honestly.
nice.
Exactly. I'm like, okay, all of a sudden she doesn't have animals
She
with
has
her and she's
manners
acting like
now.
a princess because she's like doing little curtsies and bows and they're like, hi, thank you, and she just keeps on moving.
So they come into the center of the town and there's beautiful trees there.
Mhm.
But what there also is this beautiful bronze statue of Glinda the Good.
Mhm.
Dorothy obviously recognizes it immediately. She knows
Yeah.
exactly who that is. And then behind the statue of Glinda, Dorothy can see the royal palace, which is this gorgeous marble building fringed with gold.
Yeah, it's like imagine like a lace of gold on the outside of the building. Like it says it's like a gold filigreed frosting. So it's like it is white marble with gold lace lattice on the outside, and it's
Jeez.
huge and it's beautiful. And they're like, oh,
These bunnies do it
that's
right.
I know, yeah. Where do
Like,
they get the money?
I just pictured them all as being so clean and sweet and
Yeah.
kissable.
Oh,
And their
yeah.
city too.
I did think actually when I was reading it, when it was like, oh yeah, all the streets are white marble, everything's white marble. I was like, all those little bunny turds everywhere, like black dots everywhere.
No, they use
That's what I would
toilets.
but they must
assume.
They use
exactly.
toilets.
But they must-
Because
they
they're
must sweep.
civilized. Yeah,
I
mean,
feel like if they're wearing clothes, they
Oh,
have
yeah.
brooms.
exactly. There's
Yeah,
that.
they don't want their poopies to get stuck on
Yeah.
their gowns.
No,
And you
yeah,
know, when
not
I
feathers.
did have a bunny, he was an outdoor bunny, and we would just let him out in our backyard, and he never had. We never needed to like mow our lawn.
yeah, oh
He
my
ate all the
God.
grass.
Yeah.
It always was kept up, like actually
That's
looking
so
nice,
funny.
because he would just eat it.
And that is the end of chapter 19. How Bunnybury welcomed the strangers. And Blake, how would you welcome that?
Okay, I came up with this all by myself. Down the rabbit hole. Just kidding. That is the first chapter of Alice's Adventures in Wonderland by Lewis Carroll.
The crazy thing is, all the like first letters of those words spells out Bunnybury.
Shut the fuck up and go to sleep immediately.
Chapter 20. How Dorothy lunched with a king. So the palace is guarded by a line of rabbit soldiers, and they're all wearing green and gold uniforms, and they have high shakos on their heads.
Shakos.
It's like that, like
Hardly know her.
Shakos.
Okay, but for your info, because I did have to Google this, a shako is like that, like good old fashioned soldier, like nutcracker hat with like the feather in the middle, like
Oh.
that tall
Very like
hat.
Yeah.
Russian. Oh no, like British.
That little toy soldier that
He's kinda
almost
like-
lost
soldier.
his.
Toy soldier is the only way I can explain it.
He
Yeah.
lost his life saving that little ballerina,
Oh,
or
now you
almost lost
me.
his life.
Oh, you
Now you
love
lost
the
me.
nutcracker. So these soldiers are there, and the keeper of the wicket instructs him to salute to Princess Dorothy. The captain of the rabbit army is like, salute! And all of the rabbits,
It's just like a cascade of commands because he's like, "Hey, everybody salute," and the command's like, "Yeah, everybody salute," and then everybody salutes, and Dorothy's like, "Thank you," and then they just go by. They enter, and then there's an attendant there to receive them, who's like on staff
Ooh.
for that hour.
this guy's bitter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why is everyone so mad here? They're all so cute and little and sweet.
It's gonna become,
I think,
clear soon.
You know how like in the Emerald City, everyone's super duper happy,
Yeah.
and then the person in charge of them is Ozma.
Mm.
Here, everyone's kind of bitter and upset, and the person in charge of them is not Ozma. You know? So, look at it this way. They enter the palace, and the keeper of the wicket asks the attendant there if the king is at leisure. And the attendant's like, yeah, I think so. I heard him blubbering and wailing as usual a couple of minutes ago.
And if he doesn't stop being a crybaby soon, I'm gonna resign and I'm gonna have to go to work somewhere else.
What?
Yeah.
Where are you
Yeah.
gonna
So-
work?
And Dorothy's like,
Dorothy-
"Whoa,
Yeah, she's like,
whoa, that's a
"Whoa.
lot of tea to spill."
Hi,
You literally
how do you
live in
do?
Bunnybury.
Yeah. She's like, hi, never met you before. What the fuck is going on?
Yeah, what's wrong with the king? And honestly, like she does in this, like in the writing, it says like she's surprised at hearing all that. But then also, I'm like, if I heard that, I'd be like, whoa, is something wrong? Like, did someone die? Like,
Well, yeah.
what's
I mean,
happening?
it says specifically that like she's surprised to hear that about the person in charge.
yeah.
Because like she would never talk about Ozma that way in company.
Yeah,
you
that's
know?
insane. With strangers.
Yeah.
A complete stranger.
So the attendant answers Dorothy's question of like, what is going on? And he tells her he doesn't want to be king, but he has to. Okay, there are worse problems.
And he
out
hates
there.
it.
Did his father die?
Well, you'll find out.
The keeper of the wicket is like, stop that griping. The attendant's like, well, when she meets the king, he's just going to say the same thing anyway. The keeper of the wicket's like, that is royal privilege. If
Yeah, that's his
whatever the
choice.
king says to Dorothy is what the king says to Dorothy. What you say to Dorothy matters, like in a professional sense, you know?
Okay, so he's
So in this case, the keeper of the wickets is correct, and they do get guided through to see the king. So they enter this giant, huge throne room, as always, but it's draped in all these beautiful cloths. They're all like laced with gold. The furnitures are covered in satin. It's very cozy. And at the middle of it, there is a big throne on a pedestal and a cushion on the throne, and on that cushion is the king. And his paws are in the air. He's laying on his back, and he is whining like a dog.
So the attendant comes in, like, Your Majesty, someone's here to see you. So the king, he dries his eyes. He puts his crown back on his head because it's somewhere it fell off his head while he was
Weeping.
sobbing and crying.
But then the king is awfully poetic. Like in a weird way, like not in a weird way, but he's like, "Oh, excuse my grief, fair stranger, but you behold the most miserable monarch in the world." And in this moment, I'm like, okay, so something is actually wrong. Like he's acting very like educated and sweet and like, "Oh my God, like I'm sorry, like I'm in a moment of grief."
Okay, it's like, what are you about to say to me?
Well,
Yeah.
what he has to say is, "What time is it, Blinkum?" Which Blinkum is apparently the attendant's name. Not a
Yeah.
rabbit.
We got names
Yeah,
now.
so Blinkum.
He's the guider of the widget.
No, the keeper of the
No,
wicket.
Blinkum. So Blinkum is the
Attendant.
who's just grumpy.
Spilling the
And
tea.
it's like,
Oh,
fuck this
okay.
guy.
Yeah. And Blinkum says it's 1:00. And the king is like, serve luncheon for 2. That's for my visitor and myself. And see that the human has the food she's accustomed to. And then Blinkum goes away and he's like, Bristle, you tie my shoe. And then finally we have a name for the keeper of the key or the keeper of the wicket, which is
That's
Bristle.
Bristle.
Which is a cute name.
Hi, Bristle.
But all of
Okay,
a sudden
both
the
of
king
those
is just
names,
doing everything.
Blinkum and Bristle are both
Reindeer
very
names.
cute names.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you know Blinkum and Bristle and
Rudolph and Violet.
Blinkum and Bristle and Rudolph and Violet.
Oh.
But
Rudolph?
do you recall?
The most
Okay, we don't need to actually get into
Blinkum,
it.
and the Bristle.
All that said, though, Bristle does tie his shoe, and then then the king basically just gets back on his high horse, and he's like, "Oh, I'm so unhappy." And Dorothy's like, "Okay, like,
Yeah.
what's wrong?"
Yeah,
like
she's
Dorothy's
like,
like kind
"What's
of not
going on?"
having it, but she's playing along.
Yeah.
So the king tells Dorothy, he's like, I never wanted to be king. And all of the other rabbits, they knew that about me, but they elected me anyway to save themselves from having to do the job, you know?
So now he has to
So-
stay in the palace trapped when he should be a free rabbit.
But Dorothy's
Aw.
like, isn't it great to be king? I'm pretty sure Simba couldn't
I just
wait
can't
to be
wait
king.
to be king.
Well, the king is like, "Well, have you?"
Hey! No, I'm kidding.
But the king is like, "Well, were you ever king before?" And she was like, "Well, no." And he's like, "Yeah, then like you actually really can't speak
He's
to
like,
it."
then shut. How about the heck up?
Yeah.
You know?
Shut
Yeah,
how about
you
the
keep your
heck
little
up?
princess mouth shut? How
Yeah.
about that,
And,
bitch?
And how about that?
You know, she's a princess. That's interesting that she's a princess because actually what the king says is, I don't actually know who you are, but at my luncheon, I'm going to tell you everything about me because I don't really think you have anything interesting to say. And I'm going to tell you about
Yeah.
my problems because I have many.
Yeah, all of my
Wow.
problems are way more interesting than anything about you. Now, it is important to note what our listeners already know is that these are followers of Ozma of Oz.
Mhm.
They are protected by Glinda, the good sorceress. And Dorothy is a princess of Oz. So when these people have a king who is like, fuck this job, this place fucking sucks, and he's saying those things to Dorothy, that's really important.
Yeah, it's a bad look. It's
was
like,
kind of a
and
bad
like he
look.
doesn't know who she is.
Know
if he
how to
did,
do
hopefully
your
he'd be
job.
ashamed and shocked. But like, no, like it's
Be
insane.
a king. Be
Yeah.
a king.
But then,
Yeah, because Ozma's her best friend. She's
Yeah.
gonna go back home and gossip.
oh, she has got. You just wait. Well, I mean, kind of, but there's an angle to that. But in this moment, Blinkum reappears and says, "Hey, luncheon is served." And a dozen rabbits come in. They all have trays. They arranged them at this big table. We do not learn anything they eat except for one thing, but we'll cover that later. It's dessert. But then the king's like, "Okay, everyone, get out!" And he's like, "Except for you, Bristle. You go wait right outside the door in case I want you back here."
And just so you know, Bristle is the bunny who met them at the front gate.
Yes, keeper of the wicket.
So I don't know why he would stay outside that door.
I thought the same thing. I was like, what if someone else comes to the gate? Maybe there's a backup
he
wicket
needs
keeper?
to be at the gate.
Yeah.
The
what's
associate
the-
vice keeper of the wicket? AVCPS?
There must be some
Maybe
system they got going on.
So once everyone is gone, the king takes his crown off his head, throws it in the corner.
Yeah.
He takes off his ermine robe, stuffs it under the table.
Kicks it. He kicks it under the table.
He's like, I hope you're hungry. And Dorothy's like, oh, I'm starving. Actually, all I've eaten is a wheelbarrow, a piano, an old dirty foot mat.
And I feel like in this moment, it's kind of funny because I'm like, the king already said, hey, you can't have anything interesting going on, so I'm going to tell you all about my life. And the first thing Dorothy has to share about her past is that today she ate a wheelbarrow, a piano, and a
Literally
doormat.
like 15 minutes ago.
And also that I'm like, yeah, like you're hungry. You ate like 3 pieces of furniture in the last 2.5
If
hours.
someone told me they ate a piano,
I'd be like, oh, so you're good. So you're good. You don't need. You just want water. You want like a lemon
I would
water.
think they were lying to me.
I would think
I'd be
that.
like, oh, how LOL.
But the king comes in with a decent joke because, like, Dorothy says she eats that stuff and, the piece of bread and butter that used to be a doormat. And he's like, oh, well, that seems like a square meal, but perhaps it wasn't a square piano.
Okay, so
I
don't
didn't look it up. I assumed that was
oh
something.
well,
I
wheelbarrows
do
aren't
not.
square either.
I know. I don't want to talk about
exactly.
that part.
I do not get this joke at all. The piano is the most square thing that Dorothy ate.
Yeah.
So I really don't get the joke. But they laugh together. They laugh and laugh and laugh. Dorothy's like, oh, well, you don't seem so unhappy now. And the king is like, no, but actually, like, I really am unhappy.
And
He
woeful
starts to cry.
and very sad.
Oh my
Aren't you
gosh.
sorry for me?
He asks if she's sorry for him, and Dorothy's like, no, like, dude, you're the king of a gorgeous city.
Yeah. She's like, this place is awesome.
Yeah. And he's like, yeah, well, Glinda the Good made us a pretty great city because she loves rabbits, but I wouldn't live here by choice. And
Yeah.
Dorothy's like, why? The Rabbit King is like, well, I miss being in the wild. I miss being a wild rabbit.
It's a wild rabbit.
When he was born, he lived in a burrow. He lived in like a normal rabbit burrow in the forest, and he was
He's relatable.
yes, exactly. It's very like very
Started from the bottom, now we here.
oh yeah,
Exactly.
and
Started from the
you're
bottom,
telling
now my
him.
whole
He
team
preferred
fucking here.
he preferred his life in the food chain,
Yeah.
basically.
He was like, we were
Same.
surrounded by enemies. I had to run for my life. I would have to
He
hide
needs
in
a
my burrow for days.
purpose.
And like, I kind of get it, because he's like, oh yeah. I mean, well, I don't
No,
get
he's
it
too
because
protected.
like, obviously it's fine to be safe and at home. But he was like, I was wild and free. Like he's it's something that actually, well, it didn't like make me emotional, but it kind of got me for a second. I was like, wow, because he said that he misses hearing his own heart throb when he's startled. And I'm like, yeah, a rabbit who hasn't been like had that happen for his like for the last while, it's
Yeah.
like that's insane because rabbits are always like on edge.
So who's making him be king?
So Dorothy asks why don't you just resign if you hate it so much? But he says there's a law. Once you are elected as the king, you cannot step down.
What?
You have to stay king until you die.
Yeah, and you might think, well, you're the king, change that law.
Oh, so that you can die here
Well,
Just so
he could
you
die
die
there.
as king, basically.
naturally.
So basically, old money came in and said, oh, well, for rulers, we'll work by old money rules. But the bunnies don't want to be in charge. The bunnies just want to be bunnies.
Oh, so like
Um,
even if they were to elect another king, that
Well, no one else wants to be king.
exactly. So
Yeah.
like that person would probably be feeling the same way.
They would feel
Yeah.
the exact same way.
Oh my
'Cause
god! Why do we
So-
need to have a like? Why does it need to be a monarchy?
So he says it's the law. You can't back down. You have to do it. And Dorothy's like, who made that law?
Glinda.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because the sorceress who made the city, Glinda, she made the city. She made all these enchantments to protect it, which I assume includes the enchantment that made Dorothy get really small, like in Willy Wonka.
I
like-
that's where the magic's coming
Yeah.
from.
So she did all that, and she said, "Hey, like," she just yelled into the forest, "Hey, all you white rabbits, come on in. You're here now."
So Dorothy asks him, like, when Glinda called out and invited all of the rabbits to come, or all of the white rabbits to come and live here, why did he accept her invitation? And he was like, I don't know, like, I didn't know I was gonna hate it.
Which is fair. Like,
It's fair.
hey, like, you don't want to, like, do you want to try not living in a burrow and, like, living to try and not die every day? Like, come
Yeah.
here. I'd say yes.
Well,
Yeah.
people come to America for opportunity, and then they're here,
Exactly.
and all of a sudden there's no jobs.
Sometimes it's not great.
Granted,
Yeah.
the people who come here for jobs are never made president against their will. I will say that.
Well, and those are the two things
guess
that he
that's true.
says though.
Yeah.
He's like, I didn't know I was gonna hate it, and I didn't know I was gonna become king.
Yeah.
I don't like either of those things.
So the only thing that we're aware of in this feast that is served is the dessert, which is a Charlotte Russe, which I looked up earlier and actually just don't frankly remember even. Oh, it's a no-bake strawberry pie. So it's kind of like a tiramisu where it's like ladyfingers and cream, but instead of coffee, there's strawberry and jam or whatever. So she's eating that, and around her mouthful of that, she's like, "I know Glinda. I'll get her to have a new king for you, so you don't have to be king." She's
the
scarfing it
ASMR.
down. I don't know why she's eating like this, but that's how it's spelled out in the book, to be honest. Like,
It
literally.
is. But yeah, Dorothy tells him like, I'll ask Glinda to put a new king in your place, and you can just go back to the forest, I guess.
Well, just have them not have a king.
Or that,
Why
yeah.
do they need
Like,
to have
Or
a
that.
king?
They
if the
don't
king can't
need a
change the
king.
No
law,
one
why do
wants-
they need a king?
Yeah, no one wants to be. Let them just all live amongst each other and
Yeah.
do their thing and live in their
Yeah.
little teapots and
Yeah,
Yeah.
the little clover yards, everyone's happy.
yeah.
Yeah. So Dorothy tells him like, "Hey, I know Glinda. I'll tell her to just not make you king." He's like, "Oh, do you mean it? Oh, fuck yeah! Like that is great for me."
He dances around the room for a long
yes.
time. Like,
Aw.
so long that they have to
The
explain when he
happiest
stops.
he's ever been.
Yes. And so he's like, "Hey, please don't forget to ask Glinda about this." And she's like, "Oh no, I won't." So now we move forward in the story. And he's in much better spirits now. And so he's like, "Oh, Dorothy, you know what? To thank you, we are going to have some entertainment for you."
And he commands for Blinken. Well, no, actually, he calls in Bristle, and he's like, "Hey, get all the nobility gathered. We're about to fucking celebrate. Also, tell Blinkum that I need to talk to him, and we're gonna go walk in the garden while we wait." So they go to the garden, and it has flowers and beautiful fragrant shrubs. There's fruit trees. There's shade trees. It's just beautiful, as you could imagine.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Blinkum finally comes running over to the Rabbit King, and the king whispers some instructions to him, and Blinkum takes off running again, and they just move on, looking over the gardens. Dorothy's really enjoying that, I guess. And then Dorothy compliments the king on his clothes. She's like, "Wow,
Yeah,
those clothes you're wearing
striking.
are gorgeous."
She's just being so nice all of a sudden.
It's blue satin with pearl buttons and pearl like accoutrements.
Oh.
It
The
actually sounds
rabbit-
really nice.
The Rabbit King, he
Accoutrement.
gets all prideful. He's like, oh my God, thank you. Actually, I have the best tailor. This is my favorite suit.
He also clarifies
Are they
that,
becoming best friends?
okay.
Well, here's the thing. So I'm going to read you a note that I wrote, and then it will actually lead into the story very well because I was ahead of myself. I thought he hated being anthropomorphic and just wanted to be a regular bunny. Now he loves his suits. Because he's like, "Oh yeah, Dorothy, actually, when you talk to Glinda about, just making me a regular bunny and not the king, could you ask her to let me keep my suits?"
Yeah, I knew it. I
Yeah.
was like, he's gonna ask to keep the
And
fucking clothes.
Dorothy's like-
interesting.
Dorothy is like, yeah, but like you won't really need your clothes in the forest.
Yeah, like, what are you gonna do?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, but like I'm used to dressing up now, so like he doesn't want to run around
So
naked.
what is it? Do we want this life or
Also,
do we want that life? It's
I-
one or the other.
I do want to mention also that, and we didn't even gloss. We skipped
Oh,
over this.
we
but
did skip that.
earlier. He said, "Hey, humans took millennia, generations to become civilized. Because Dorothy's like, why are you so upset? Like, humans used to be animals. Now they're like, they don't act that way. And he's like, no human ever went from being completely uncivilized, living in a cave, to being like a modern human. Like, and that's what I did. And she's like, okay, whatever. So it's like, but now he's like, oh, well, I am actually used to being a modern rabbit now, and I don't want to put my clothes away. So it's very hypocritical and very like backpedally
He's
for
a little
me.
unsure.
He's unsure. But Dorothy's like, yeah, like I'll ask if you can take your clothes into your muddy little like rat hole that you're gonna live in later, King.
Okay, now we got Dorothy back.
Yeah,
that's
she's
a Dorothy
there.
I know.
Yes. So they go to the reception hall. There it's a big room. Obviously, it's like meant for like hosting a bunch of people. There's these big rugs on the floor, and there's the exquisite furniture made of wood. It's embedded with jewels. It's beautiful, as you would expect. And the king has an extra fancy chair, and the chair is made of silver. It's in the shape of a lily, and one of the petals is folded down, so it's like a normal chair, and it's encrusted with diamonds all over, covered in diamonds.
Taste.
Absolute luxury.
It's gorgeous. Dorothy notices it immediately and comments on it. She's like, that chair is beautiful.
My note is, Shat is a plendid chair, which I don't know why I have Shat. It should have been that.
I'm so sorry. Your note is Shat is a plendid chair?
No, Shat is a plendid chair. Yeah.
Shat is a plendid
Sorry,
there.
that's just my typos. It's my typos.
Who's Shat?
I just read it. It's a terrible typo.
Shat is a plendid tear. And the King Rabbit's like, oh no, I know. Like, that is my favorite tear. But like, he's like, it's beautiful, it's comfortable. And he's thinking about it. He's looking at his chair and he's like, Dorothy, when you talk to Glinda, it'd be cool if like you just let her know that I'd like to keep the chair when I go back into the forest.
And Dorothy's like,
Oh,
that wouldn't look quite right in a hole in the ground.
He's like, I don't really know how you would fit that.
You want
He's
that
like,
in the rat hole?
Yeah, but like
In the rat hole?
that's what Dorothy says. But he's like, like I see what you're saying, but I really like it. So if you could just figure that out for me.
Oh, but here come the ladies and gentlemen of the court to get us into a transition.
Thank God.
Yeah.
Seriously.
So he's like,
Dorothy
hey,
and
sit
the
beside
Rabbit
me. I'm going to
King
introduce you.
take their seats.
Oh, my God. And that, unbelievably abruptly, is the end of Chapter 20, originally entitled, How Dorothy Lunched with a King. And Blake, how would you, Rabbit, call that?
A hair-raising welcome. Hair.
Yeah.
Hair with an A.
Hair.
Good one. Chapter 21, How the King Changed His Mind.
Oh, is that what it's called?
I have a feeling I know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So Dorothy and the Rabbit King get seated for some entertainment.
And I just want to say right now, we never learn the Rabbit King's name.
He's
Blake and I alluded to this
the
earlier.
Rabbit King
that
through and
we
through.
never get King Renard. We never get King Vox. We don't get anything. All we have is Rabbit King, which is fine.
We know,
but it gets annoying in the notes.
Bristle and Bimbo and Peapock.
Yeah, and Papu and Napu and Nebo. Yeah, there's so many, but we don't know the Rabbit King's name. But I just wanted to say right now, we'll never learn it, and so when we keep saying Rabbit King, Rabbit King, Rabbit King, it's because that's
all
the
we
only
know.
way to
All we
refer
know.
to him as. So yeah.
So a 50-piece rabbit band marches in, playing golden instruments, and behind them are the nobility of Bunbury.
Yep.
Sorry, two places, one show.
Two different places.
But all of the nobility of Bunnybury they're all dressed to the nines. And as they pass by the king, they greet him, and he introduces Dorothy, and they all take their seats.
So Dorothy meets a lot of people. And then the king announces, hey, it's our duty and our pleasure to entertain this distinguished guest. And then he's like, and here is the royal band of whiskered friskers.
So the band that played in All the Nobility
Yeah, the actual band.
continues playing, and the Whiskered Friskers come out on stage. So these rabbits are all white with purple gauzy like tutus,
And there's 8 of them.
and their whiskers are also dyed purple. Other
Oh.
than that, all white.
Yeah. And they have diamonds all over them too, which are also white. But still, like
Okay.
just to add to the elegance of it.
They're
So
like-
they
Got a little makeover or something.
yes.
Yeah. They're
apparently they're hilarious. So
Yeah.
they are what would be considered a prank show. But all they do
giving
is just
Ashton
kind of
Kutcher.
like they just kind of like dance.
Oh my god.
They dance around and do somersaults.
They are supposed to be a comedy show, I think, because like they're comical. Dorothy's laughing, but like they whirl, they gyrate, they leap over each other, they stand on their heads, they do death drops.
Watching
They
This is
skip.
giving like America's
watching-
Got Talent.
Yeah.
It's like So You Think You Can Dance.
Yeah.
So watching this show, the Rabbit King is like, God damn, I sure do love the Whiskered Friskers. I will miss them when I'm gone. And he's like, hey, you know,
No.
he's like, maybe you could ask Glinda.
And she's like, no, I wouldn't do that at all.
Dorothy cuts his ass
Yeah.
off. She's like,
Good. Set boundaries.
No, that wouldn't do.
You're
No.
asking for
Yeah.
one favor.
She's like, there wouldn't be any room in your little muddy black hole for
that
all
little
those
black
rabbits.
hole you want to go back to.
And she's like, especially considering you already want your lily chair and your wardrobe and your little mud hole with you.
yeah.
And the king is like, ugh, okay, well, hey, everybody, hey, here's our next thing. It's a military parade.
oh, and I bet
Yeah.
he loves that too.
So, they do this whole little show, which is just like Cadet Kelly
I
starring
was about
Hilary
to
Duff.
ask.
Yeah, it's like just like the showmanship of the JROTC.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know.
It's very major pain. To
So
me.
then, as that ends, like Dorothy's like, "Damn, you know, you must feel really safe
And he's
having
like,
these guys around."
yeah, he does. He's like,
Yeah.
and actually, like, they protected me from everything. Like, I wouldn't suppose that
Dorothy is like, "No." Dorothy's like, "No,
What is
Glinda."
this guy's deal?
Dorothy is like, "Glinda will not. If you are not a king, you do not
You don't
need a
get
king's
that
army."
stuff.
Yeah, King's bodyguard stays with King. You don't just
Yeah.
get to take them.
So the king doesn't really say anything. He just sits there really
He's
sadly.
starting to get embarrassed, I feel like,
So-
because
Oh
he's
my
realizing
gosh.
things.
Next, he introduces the royal jugglers,
Well,
who
she hasn't talked to Glinda yet, so
Yes,
no, and
thank
she
God.
won't for a while. And the royal jugglers do
This is
a
insane.
performance that I can describe in so many ways. None of the ways I would ever describe this would be considered juggling.
I'd say it's more like magicians or something.
They're
Or
like
illusionists.
soothsayers. Yeah,
this really
they're
is giving
crazy.
America's Got Talent. It's
It
got
Oh my
is.
God!
everything.
It is every type of act.
Like, are we about to have
Yeah.
a country singer next?
Yeah,
Oh my
Sharon,
God.
Sharon
Oh, don't start.
Osbourne. Sharon Osbourne is like about to get mad at somebody. I
Yeah.
don't know. Is she on that show?
She was, I think.
Okay.
Well, even if Once Upon a Time, I'm still part of the zeitgeist.
So there are 6 jugglers who come out, and they're also. I mean, every rabbit in this place is white, so they are white rabbits, and they are all wearing these strange black uniforms, and they're all embroidered with these silver symbols that are strange and unintelligible. And what they come out with is a giant red ball. Yep. Exactly. They're all pushing it. They're all reaching up. They're pushing out this big red
It's giving
ball.
Wipeout.
It is. It's giving Wipeout if one of those balls was loose.
Yeah.
It was released
just
from its
roll it
little.
around.
Yeah, they are rolling it around.
Like when this started happening in the book, I went back and reread because it was
Like,
unclear
I don't know
to
if I
me.
understand.
So it was like the royal jugglers, and then this giant
Just a
red
giant-
ball comes out.
I got really confused in this part too, because I had to reread it multiple times, and I still don't really think I understand what was happening after the ball arrives.
No, yeah, it's really confusing because like they are the royal jugglers. Where is the juggling?
But then the ball juggles them.
Yeah.
Because 3 of them jump on top of it and they start
Yes.
rolling about and
Roll,
jumping on it.
Roll.
And I'm like,
roll.
and then something strange happens in the writing where I don't really understand what happens, but to my understanding, they all get thrown into the air. They jump up and get thrown up. and
So
they
what
disappear.
happens? So what happens is 3 of them are on top of the ball, running with their little feet, rolling the ball.
Okay.
The other 3 jugglers jump up and they launch them into the sky and they disappear. So those 3
They disappear.
they do it
Disappear.
one.
They don't come down.
They do it one by one, and those 3 are gone. Now there are 3 rolling the ball. So the one in the center launches the one to his left up in the sky, and then he launches the one to his right up in the sky. So now there's only 1 left rolling the ball. He's rolling the ball. Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Are we all
I'm
caught up?
here.
This is the part where I understood it again. So continue, but I do understand what's about to happen.
So then he touches the ball in some way that makes it split open. All the other 5 bunnies run out.
Oh my god.
And it's like, ha, dun, dun, we did it.
Oh,
Yeah.
I'd pay money.
well, then
Oh,
something
it seems awesome.
No,
Yeah.
but something actually even more crazy is about to happen. Because
Yeah.
now there's 6 of them again. They all are kind of on the ground, rolling around, and then they all roll around together, and they cling on to each other, and then they're rolling in this big
They
rabbit
become
ball.
the ball.
Well, then they merge and fuse into one really fat rabbit.
And that rabbit bounces super high into the sky,
Yeah.
lands on the ground,
And explodes.
into 6 other rabbits. And they're all like, bum bum, we
Yeah.
did it. Thank you. It's
That's not even the end of it.
really
What?
disturbing.
Because then they
Um,
roll into tight little balls, 4 of them do, and the remaining 2 start juggling them between themselves. These rabbits are doing things that don't even make sense, and that I can't even fully
He took
comprehend.
it
Their
too
show doesn't
far.
make any sense. The king of rabbits is like out here watching the show, and he's like talking to Dorothy. Like Dorothy's like, "Wow, that was really good," and he's like, "Oh yeah, oh my god, these are the best jugglers in the world." Here's the thing: there's 6 of them. Just think. Glinda can let me
Yeah.
have.
Because
He
Three?
really he
I-
just needs to host
well,
more.
he's
He just
like-
needs to host and have
Exactly.
parties, and he'll feel fine.
He's
then he
spending
gets
too
to
much
show-
time crying.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
gets to show and see everything, all the cool things he
in this
has.
moment, he's like, "Oh, I mean, I can't have the dancers, I can't have the bodyguards. Like, I could have a couple jugglers." And Dorothy's like,
No, it's no
Ye-
more compromising.
well-
You can't have anything else. You've already asked for so much.
at this point, Dorothy's already said no to everything. So she's like, "Yeah, like, I guess," but she says it
Yeah,
doubtfully. Like it says, she's like,
Not a
I'll-
promise.
"Sure, like, I'm tired of this."
Alas.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's
the-
honestly like sad.
The
Yeah.
Rabbit King, he's like, "Thank you. Seriously. Thank you." Like
Stop.
He's like, "I need something." So then the Rabbit King introduces the winsome waggish warblers.
It's a quartet of singers.
2 male, 2
The
female.
wait, what are they called?
Warblers.
That's
You think I'm pretty without any makeup on. You
No,
think
but
I'm
it's
funny
the-
when I tell the punchline wrong. The first song that the winsome waggish warblers sing.
It begins.
Do you want to sing it together?
I'd be fine with that.
Sure. 5, 6, 7, 8.
When a rabbit gets a habit of living in a city and wearing clothes and fur pillows and jewels rare and pretty, he scorns the bun who has to run
and burrow in the ground and pities those whose watchful foes are man and gun
and
hound.
But the king doesn't like that.
Yeah. Dorothy looks at the Rabbit King and he looks uncomfy. Because remember, the Rabbit King is like, I don't want to live here anymore. I don't want to be king. I want to leave.
Yeah.
That song was all about rabbits who live regular rabbit lives.
Yeah.
You know?
It's like, oh yeah, like living in the city is great, and like living in a not city is you living in the ground
Yeah.
and you're always afraid.
So the Rabbit King, he's like, hey, warblers, I don't really like this song. Could you sing I don't know, something more fun?
Yeah.
So they do. They sing something more fun. Here's how it goes. Bunnies gay delight to play in their fairy town secure. Every frisker first his whisker at a pink-eyed girl demure.
Every maid in silk arrayed
at her partner shyly glances. Paws are grasped, waists are clasped, as they whirl in giddy dances.
Then to get through the heather, 'neath the moonlight soft they stroll. Each is very blithe and merry, gamboling with laughter droll.
Life is fun to everyone,
guarded by our magic charm. For to dangers we are strangers,
safe from any thought of harm.
What?
If you what?
Oh, we're safe and thought.
Frank Baum should be ashamed of himself with how
No.
much song
It's
was
interesting.
in that.
This is really giving like
This isn't a script.
this is really giving The Hobbit to me. Because it's like, oh, here's the song of when they clean the dishes. Like, here's the song of when they do this and that. Like, I haven't read that since I was a senior in high school. And it was on my leisure, but still, I don't really remember it that well. So after this song, Dorothy's like, wow, everyone except you loves Bunbury. Like, guess you're the only one who wants to cry and whine and, like, go back to his muddy little hole in the ground, that dark little pit hole that you live in that's mud.
That's right, Dorothy. Put in the work.
Yeah, so the servants, they come around. They pass out glasses of nectar, slices of cake. The king rabbit, he's sitting quiet. He's sitting nervous.
Yeah, he's not feeling that good. He's feeling weird. And the evening passes, and it's fun. Everyone has a good time. Everyone goes home. And Dorothy's like, you know, it's getting late. Like, I should probably go home because, like, I am actively lost right now. And I do want to get back to my party before nightfall. So apparently this is all happened in the afternoon.
Also, where the well, I do remember Belina and Toto being not invited in, but like what, they're just outside?
Well, we'll get to that actually.
Okay.
But yes, that's a good point. But the king is like, hey, like stay the night with us. Like you can just stay here. It's no problem. Like you've been great. Like don't leave. And she's like, no, I really need to go. And also, like, I need to see Glinda as soon as I can. Because, like, now I've made a promise.
Gotta get back to Glinda. But the king personally walks Dorothy back to the gate to say goodbye. He's still, you know, when we met him, he tossed his crown to the corner. He stuffed his robe under the table. But he's walking with Dorothy. He's wearing his crown. He's wearing his ermine robe. He's walking with his staff. He's not crying and boo-hooing.
But he seems sad.
But he does seem sad. And Dorothy, she approaches the door that she entered Bunbury through, and she just thanks the Rabbit King for his hospitality. And Dorothy tells him that, hey, when I see Glinda, as soon as I can, I will ask that she put a new king in place and send you back to the forest.
But you get to keep the lily chair and some of your clothes and a couple of the jugglers. I promise I'll ask.
That's
like,
very nice.
So
of her.
she's
The
really
Rabbit
doing
King, he is like,
Spit it out.
I don't want to be a bother, Dorothy, but maybe don't talk to Glinda.
Yeah.
Don't.
He's really
Don't.
giving like, oh, like, you know what? I'm sorry. I shouldn't have asked you that. Like, don't worry about it. And he's like obviously embarrassed. And he's like, no, like I've been thinking about it. And like, you know, like, oh, whatever.
He's like, a lot of the things here I've noticed are pretty good, and I don't want to
He
miss
just needed
them.
to go out and
So-
breathe fresh air, touch grass, do all
Here's
that stuff.
The
Dorothy
thing.
gets crazy.
Dorothy laughs. Then
Oh, the villain.
she looks grave.
The villain side is coming.
Then a harsh light shines up from the ground, obscuring the features of Dorothy's face. She stares into the Rabbit King's face and she says, "Beware the twisted fate that befalls thee, for it shall not suffice to wear the crown of a sovereign while thy tears stain thine throne. The wails of woe, like venomous serpents, have slithered into the hearts of thy subjects, breeding discontent and sorrow. Henceforth, let it be known that thine crown slips from thy grasp, replaced by a shadowed crown of regal demise."
Okay, so that's Voldemort in Sorcerer in the
That's-
Stone.
Oh
sorry,
my
that's-
god.
That's just from the book. I don't know. I'm
That's
sorry.
Voldemort. That's he who must not be named, and not his full form.
He, like, honestly, the Rabbit King, he's like, no. Like, I will be good. I will never cry. I will never make my people wonder
Yeah,
again.
he's like, no more tears, baby. No more tears. He promises.
Dorothy takes his word for it, and she's like, "Good, you ungrateful piece of shit."
Oh
And
my god.
so she tells him basically to wise up. She passes back through the door. She grows back to her normal size.
Also, Belina and Toto are fully chilling. They've been fed very well. They've been sleeping. They've been resting. Belina's like, we don't even have to leave right now. Like, I'm
They're
good.
chilling.
Yeah. So like they've been really treated well. Although, Wicket or Brisket? Bristle is back at
Good
the front.
work.
I'm sorry.
remembered a
Good
name.
work. Bristle is back at the front, but he's like staying away from Belina and Toto because he is freaked out of Toto. But like, there's no actual problem. Like, they're just completely chill. But Dorothy's like, no, we have to actually get out of here. We have to leave.
So, the keeper of the wicket, he's like, "Dorothy, thank you so much for convincing our king to just rule us. Like, he wanted to run away. He was boo-hooing all the time. None of us want to do it. Thank you. Like, thank you for just showing him the way, showing him
Okay.
how great it is here." And he tells Dorothy that he's going to start a petition to have a statue erected of her right next to the one of Glinda that's right in the center of their town.
Wow.
So
Before Ozma?
I know,
before
right?
Ozma,
Ozma hasn't done anything for them.
I guess so.
To be fair, Glinda
And-
built in the city.
he tells Dorothy, he's like, "Oh, it should be done soon. I hope you'll come back and see it." And Dorothy's like, "Yeah."
Bitch, I'm never coming back here.
No, she's like, "I probably will. I'll probably." come
Oh,
back
she
and
liked
see
that show. She liked the jugglers.
Yeah. She's like, I had a really good time here, and also I got to threaten someone, and so I'm coming back. And then she joins her friends,
Yeah.
and they join hands, and they skip down the road.
Toto, Belina, and Dorothy are out the fuck of there.
Okay, on to the next.
And that is the end of chapter 21, How the King Changed His Mind. And Blake, what would you call that?
A night at the Opera.
Thank you for listening to Oz Hour. Please join us next time as we continue with Chapter 20, How the Wizard Found Dorothy. Please rate, review, and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts, and follow us on Instagram and TikTok at Oz Hour Podcast for the latest on everything Oz. Oz Hour, created and hosted by Blake Stone and Wyatt Swangham. Co-hosted by Hannah Aguirre. Audio production by Charlie Johnson. Theme music written and performed by Rudy Klobus. Cover art by Valentin Lucas.